folks to Toowoomba Forward. My name's Tim Entwistle, and joining me right now is Martin Hartwig. Martin, great to meet you.
Hello, likewise.
So welcome to the show. If we wanted to start off by introducing yourself to our viewers and telling us about the qualities that you possess that you believe will make you an effective counsellor for the next 4 years.
Right. Well, my name is Martin Hartwig. I'm number 19 on the ballot. I'm currently a fiberglass manufacturing worker, but I have done many things, many things. Some people might see that as a weakness in this age of specialising. We don't seem to value generalists, but here I am having a crack at it. And so I studied a Bachelor of Government and International Relations at Griffith University, Nathan campus. So I lived in Brisbane for maybe 7 years. Had to get out of Hervey Bay because all the youth were going elsewhere, and it was just honestly kind of depressing staying there. Everyone was going off to university, going overseas, or devolving into drug addiction. So I was like, yep, I'm going to do something. Bachelor of Political Science. I didn't graduate, sadly. I didn't really have the support networks available to me, so I'm from the other side of the tracks, let's just say. I'm not a career politician. I never intended to be with my study. I wanted to understand the systems, and I still don't. But I'm going to give it a red hot crack and do my best to understand it and to help the people in the community that are often overlooked. So the working class man, I know what depression looks like, and everywhere I see it, they're just the bitterness, the stoic resolve, but the bitterness of just like knowing that they're getting screwed over. I've even copped flack from my workmates for standing up to go into politics. They just go, oh, they're a bunch of wankers, basically. And I'm like, that'll make me great for the role.
Yeah. So what qualities do you possess then that you believe will make you a good counsellor?
The qualities that I think will make me a good counsellor is I'm not a white collar professional. I'm willing to listen to the community and advocate on behalf of them without vested interests. My one vested interest is my beautiful 8-month-old baby girl. And my second child on the way. I go to church occasionally, but it's not like an every week thing. And also, I'll say it, during the COVID lockdowns, I was on the front lines, standing up for other people's freedoms, whilst I had a woman try and run me down with her car at the shopping centre when I was a traffic warden for a big march we had here through Toowoomba. Tried to run me down with her car, and I stood my ground. I have a track record of going out of my way to be an advocate for other people's freedoms, even when they're not aware that they're under attack. That big rally that was in Queen's Park, December 16, 2021, I was one of the speakers there. I'm not sure if you were there.
I missed that one, unfortunately. Yeah.
It was amazing to see. I didn't expect so many people would turn out, but people from all around the regions were there. Families. I'm getting off track, but yeah. So those people who went to those marches and rallies may know me, but yeah, I'm not one of the club. I'm not one of the boys' club. I'm not a Freemason, and I'm rambling, so...
Yeah, all good. So you implied on your Facebook page that you wouldn't have the campaign funds necessary to print core flutes, which is one of the main ways of doing it. Are you going to print some, or...?
People have offered money in donations for core flutes, but I decided that, the feedback that I got from everyone that I work with, they're sick of seeing them. They're sick of seeing the visual pollution, and as far as I know, core flutes can't be recycled. Plus, the last time I, put my dollars in and bought wooden stakes and put core flutes up for my friend Ryan Otto in the last federal election, who ran for the Australian Federation Party, which I am also a member of. Half of them went missing when I went to collect them. They're not cheap, man. And so I thought it's not a good use of resources.
Yeah.
It's people are sick of it.
Sure. So if you're not going to go down that route of core flutes, what is your main strategy for hitting 31,000 votes in the next 3 weeks?
Is that how many I need?
Roughly to get into the top 10.
Oh, wow. I might have to ruffle a few feathers. You ever watched wrestling?
No.
Do you know what a heel is?
No, not familiar.
He's the bad guy.
Yeah.
So without being awful to my fellow human beings, I am going to be that guy who says the uncomfortable truths.
Sure.
That's my strategy going forward.
So controversy is sort of the route that you're going to take to attract the attention and the votes, ideally, that you need? Yeah,
wedging other candidates, putting them on the spot, like, so where were you? Where do you stand on this? We'll see how I go.
Okay, cool. So in the amount of campaigning that you've done, in meeting people, what do you think is the biggest council-related issue that locals are concerned about, and what do you hope to do to address it?
Well, it's not exactly council-related, but I've found a way that it is council-related, and that is cost of living. So my main thing is identifying excess expenditure and cutting rates. I'm not a ratepayer myself, although indirectly I am because I'm a renter, right? So rates affect our rents. Since moving to Toowoomba 2 years ago, my rent went from $380 to $400 to $450, right? And I'm just fortunate that I'm in the position where I have a family, and it all puts it in perspective, right? But otherwise, why do people go to jobs, work, pay taxes when they have nothing left over to live on?
Sure.
And they're falling behind on their
So can I just get back onto the question, which is so that issue of cost of living that you've identified from a lot of people, what do you hope to do on council to address it?
Identify unnecessary expenditure. So council used to be about making sure the bins were emptied and footpaths. And now we're like the Department of Tourism and all these other things which council isn't really mandated to do. That's for the state government. So bringing it back to basics.
Sure. Yeah,
bringing it
great.
back to basics.
Thank you. You mentioned on one of your Facebook posts that the last 4 years have shown us that it's important to include voices of people from different backgrounds to ensure good governance. The alternative is chaos and the degradation of order. What do you mean by that? And how do you hope to deliver good governance to council if you're elected?
Right. So the last 4 years we saw our governments basically taking orders from unelected bodies such as the World Health Organization, the United Nations. Nobody voted for them. They don't have a mandate. But they give advice to our governments, and our governments offload and say, we're going on the advice of this, that, and the other. So there's a lot of buck passing. Right, so I and many other people are sick of the buck passing. I want to do what I can to be sand in the gears, not grease in the gears for these organisations such as the World Economic Forum, which seek to undermine our democracy through a top-down approach rather than actually listening to the people. And we saw in Melbourne the results of that, just absolute chaos of people who had had enough of being locked down in their houses, not being able to run their businesses and earn a living, and being expected to just shut up.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So, yeah, I'm not going to shut up. I'm not going to sit down. This is my one and only run for politics, so we'll see how I go.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. So housing affordability, just want to talk about that, sort of in line with your cost of living issue that you identified. The availability of homes is a major issue, especially homes to rent, which might be relevant in your case as well.
Yeah.
It's a major issue that residents are concerned about. So what role does council have to play in the process of approving more housing? And in principle, do you support high density living here in the Toowoomba CBD?
In principle, I think high density housing will, there is the potential for that to be an option for increasing housing availability. There's some work that needs to be done on public transport and making that, viable for people to be able to commute to their workplaces. So that integrates with how we zone and maintain our cycling infrastructure. Yes, I think medium density is a potential option for Toowoomba. We have all of the industry here to make it happen. Council just has to get out of the way or liaise. Obviously, make sure it's sustainable. That's the big buzzword, sustainability. But also there's the need for, there's going to be a lot of urban sprawl. And with that urban sprawl, as we're coming into the 2032 Olympics, there's going to be a lot of expenditure, a lot of money flowing through. Some people are going to make a lot of money out of it, but there's going to be a lot of gentrification. So people are going to be priced out of the market. People are going to have to move further west or elsewhere because they just simply can't maintain their living situation on the wages, which haven't gone up for 10 years, 10 plus years. I'm on the manufacturing award. That hasn't been updated since 2011. A lot has changed since then.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. So sustainability and responsibly managing our environment is top of mind as well for many Toowoomba Region ratepayers. What are your convictions in regards to climate change and whether or not council has a role to play in it?
I think we all want to live in an environment where we've got trees and green space to enjoy. However, the obsession with climate change seems to be a Trojan horse to price people out of wanting to procreate. We have a declining birth rate in this country because things are becoming more expensive. Electricity, insurance, all of these things, all of these inflationary pressures are making people say, well, I can't afford to start a family. And I stubbornly did so in the face of all of that. And it's the best decision I've ever made. Makes everything worthwhile. So bringing it back to climate change, I'm not a climate scientist. Back in high school, we watched Al Gore's documentary, An Inconvenient Truth, and he made a whole bunch of doom and gloom predictions that didn't come to fruition. So I think it's understandable to be skeptical about that. Like, obviously, we want to do what we can to mitigate our footprint and leave a future for our children, but cutting down swaths of trees to put up a wind farm, as we did down south. I did some concreting down there on that project, and I was just looking at all the trees getting bulldozed to the side of the road, like, that doesn't make any sense. We could have done nuclear energy. We could have developed that decades ago. It seems like a scam.
Sure. So just a follow-up question on that. In principle, do you support the use of travel restrictions on Toowoomba Region residents as a means to reduce carbon emissions? So for an example, limiting residents' ability to travel outside of their suburb.
So that sounds like a policy out of the World Economic Forum's playbook in terms of the 15-minute cities, which, no, I don't support that.
No, sure.
So there's certain people that will benefit because they don't want to travel, they can work from home, but other people like tradies, they have to travel to work. And that's just another tax that they're going to pay to support a system that is treating them with contempt. We already have declining interest in the trades. We have skills shortages. that is going to exacerbate the problem, I think. Like, you think if nobody owns a car and they can ride share everywhere, that's great, but what if your vehicle is your main means of earning an income? Policy might sound nice and shiny on the surface of it, but no.
No, okay.
Gets a big thumbs down from me.
Cool. So crime across the region has skyrocketed.
Has it?
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of talk.
There has
about
been apparently a statistical reduction in it, but
Right.
it is still higher than pre-COVID dates or even previously before that.
Right.
At least it's conscious in the minds of Toowoomba Region ratepayers at the moment.
Yes, it certainly is.
So people it's very top of mind.
The media plays a big part in that.
This is true. The Queensland Police Force obviously we have no power over that here on a council level, in a local government level, and we can't legislate fines or prison time, etc. So how can council contribute towards a safer region?
Provide an environment where young people have hope for the future. I honestly, I think like, I came from a background where I could have gone, one of two ways, and praise God, I didn't. I didn't fall in with the wrong crowd. I'd rather just hang out on my own. So I was sort of asocial. But if I was a social person, I could have fallen in with some, hopeless individuals. So I really think it comes down to, and that took me a long time to overcome that. Most of my 20s were wasted, being hopeless. Not knowing how to integrate into society. Like, I lost my father when I was 3 years old. Yeah. I was in foster care when I was 7 years old. I spent my 7th birthday in foster care. I've worked with people from rough backgrounds. One of the guys that I worked with had an ankle bracelet and he's back in jail now. And I think, well, why did he do it? Why did he go and break into someone's house and steal a car? And honestly, I think like he wanted to go back in because he doesn't have to pay rent when he's there. And his dad's in there too, so he can be with his dad, There's this intergenerational lack of hope, and why would they participate in a system that doesn't reward their hard work? Mm-hmm. Instead, they're treated like working class people are treated like just disposable.
So how do you think that if you're elected into council, you'll be able to sort of tackle that issue to inspire hope in young people and those kids that are committing these sorts of crimes?
Well, simply talk to them like human beings instead of just writing them off. Because honestly, like, I could have been a write-off. I could have been a suicide statistic, but I'm not. I'm here. I talking to them like as human beings,
yeah,
instead of treating them like they're write-offs.
Okay, so will that look like a program or something that you want to put together?
There's already many charities doing good work in Toowoomba. Now, I admit I don't have a lot of spare time to assist charities like Loaves and Fishes, which have been doing great work. Like, I was the beneficiary of one of their care packages when I lived back in Warwick a couple of years ago, and I was like, oh, those guys. Food banks, sleeping out for the homeless, Protea Place. There's organisations that are already doing good work in our community, and I'm only one person. I can't do everything. I wish I had 2,400 hours in the day, but I only have 24. I think it looks like supporting the organisations that we already have that are doing good work.
Great, thank you. So as the Toowoomba region moves forward into the future, residents are concerned about our rich traditions being sacrificed for bold ambitions. These concerns were highlighted with Council just recently having a discussion about the Berghofer Stadium upgrades that would necessitate the demolition of a 131-year-old tennis club and a bowls club. So, in your view, how do we preserve the legacy and the traditions of the Toowoomba region while moving forward into the future?
That comes down to looking at what is worth preserving, and from an architectural perspective, one of the things that I love about Toowoomba is the heritage architecture that we need to preserve. Like, there's places like What's that really cool bar at the milk factory?
Mouseproof.
Mouseproof Brewery. First time, I've only been there once, but I was like, this is how it's done. They've preserved the heritage. It's kind of grungy. It's kind of, I don't have any interest in their business. Like, although I have heard they've had some trouble with council.
Okay.
And I thought, man, we just lost Bar Wonder. Like, and now I find a cool place to have a beer, and they're in trouble too. So we need to identify, like, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Progress is important. Change is important. Buildings degrade over time and they're not maintained. What is a building? A building is just stone, metal, glass, etc. We need to look at the essence of a thing and try to preserve that essence that we find beautiful and worth keeping. We can't allow development and change to completely bulldoze that heritage, or what will Toowoomba be? It will just be another metal and glass modern monstrosity, and I'm not interested in living in that environment. I love seeing the old brick, the rusted tin, the old grain silos, the remnants of when Australia still produced things on a larger scale than what we do now. And manufacturing's a declining industry, it seems. So
just preserving the essence
of the thing.
Yeah, sure.
There are many projects, as you can see around the city, where they've modernized. There's a hotel where it's still, the facade is still the old building, and you go inside and it's modern. There's ways of preserving heritage without completely demolishing it.
Yeah, thank you. So just last question. If there was one thing that you could say to electors to secure their vote for you, what would it be?
Do you know what a hornet does when it gets inside a beehive? There's a little bit of a shake-up, let's just say. And yes, I live in Toowoomba, but don't think that my focus is going to be purely on Toowoomba City. I know that it's a wide region. Heck, if I could afford the fuel, I'd be out in the regions, visiting people out and about, and not just stewing in the city in the congested traffic. I know that it's more than just Toowoomba, and come on, can you say no to this face?
Great. Well, thank you so much, Martin. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.